Have you ever stopped to think about why the majority of people never make it to 82, even though so many wish they could celebrate their 100th birthday? The answer has surprisingly little to do with what your parents passed down to you and everything to do with the small decisions you make every single day that are quietly stealing years from your life. There are 5 mistakes that millions of older adults keep making over and over, and these mistakes are often the invisible reason why precious time slips away. The heartbreaking part is that every single one of these mistakes can be avoided. And the beautiful part is that once you understand them, you can add not just more years to your life, but more life to your years. This is especially critical if you're in your 60 seconds, 70 seconds, or older. To help you see why this matters so much, I want to share the story of Margaret, a retired librarian who believed she was doing all the right things until a seemingly minor incident revealed a truth that shook her to her core. What she uncovered after that moment completely changed the direction of her life, and it has the power to change yours as well. The third mistake is so widespread that 9 out of every 10 people are probably making it at this very moment. And the fifth one? It's so remarkably simple and so easily forgotten that most doctors don't even bring it up, yet it's responsible for shortening countless lives every year. This isn't about making you afraid. This is about bringing what's hiding in the shadows into the light so you can see what's been cutting lives short, and more than that, showing you exactly how to stop it from happening to you. Picture yourself celebrating your 90th birthday, not just surviving, but thriving with strength, independence, and a deep sense of meaning. That kind of future isn't a fantasy. It's absolutely within your reach if you're willing to learn what Margaret learned. So let's dive in. Mistake number 1, the prescription overload trap. Margaret's medicine cabinet used to look like a miniature drugstore. Bottles lined up in neat rows for her heart, her cholesterol, her sleep troubles, her aches and pains, her digestion. She never questioned any of it because each medication came from a different doctor at a different appointment. What she didn't know was that the true risk wasn't hiding in any one pill, but in the dangerous dance they were doing together inside her body. Research shows that when someone is taking 5 or more medications at once, their chances of serious health problems and even early death shoot up dramatically. Margaret found this out the hard way when she started seeing mysterious bruises appear on her arms and felt tired all the time, no matter how much she rested. A pharmacist who took the time to review everything she was taking discovered something alarming. She was on 2 different blood thinners that had been prescribed by 2 separate doctors who never talked to each other. Add in the over-the-counter pain reliever she took regularly, and Margaret was teetering on the edge of internal bleeding. But the trap goes even deeper than just medications clashing with each other. Every new problem Margaret had seemed to lead to yet another prescription. One pill helped her fall asleep, but left her feeling foggy and sluggish the next day. To fix that, she got a prescription for something to wake her up, which then gave her an upset stomach. That led to antacids, which interfered with her body's ability to absorb important vitamins and minerals, which created even more symptoms. It was an endless loop of treating side effects instead of getting to the root of what was actually wrong. Everything changed when Margaret decided to take charge with what she started calling her medication checkup. She sat down and made a complete list of every single thing she was taking: prescriptions, vitamins, supplements, even the occasional aspirin. She began meeting with her pharmacist every 3 months to go over the list. She insisted that all her doctors communicate with one another before adding anything new. And whenever someone suggested a new medication, she started asking tough questions. Is this replacing something I'm already taking, or are we just piling on? Could I try a lifestyle change or some other approach before adding another pill? What's the plan for eventually getting me off this medication? In just 6 months, working carefully with her healthcare team, Margaret went from taking 12 medications down to 5. The difference was astonishing. Her energy came flooding back. The fog lifted from her mind. Many of the strange symptoms she'd been dealing with simply vanished. She realized that a lot of what she thought were new health problems were actually just reactions to the medications themselves. For instance, the joint pain she'd been medicating turned out to be caused by one of her cholesterol drugs. The insomnia she struggled with was actually a side effect of taking her blood pressure medicine too late in the day. By asking better questions and making sure everyone on her medical team was on the same page, she didn't just lower her risk, she actually felt better than she had in years. Margaret now has a simple mental checklist she runs through before agreeing to any new prescription. She asks herself, is this really a new problem, or could it be a side effect of something I'm already taking? Have I explored options that don't involve medication? Do all my doctors know about this? Is this going to interact safely with everything else I'm on? And what's the exit strategy? How and when will I be able to stop taking this? Her whole approach shifted. She went from being a passive patient who just nodded and took whatever was handed to her to being an active partner in her own care. The lesson here couldn't be clearer. More pills don't automatically mean better health. In fact, they can quietly become one of the most dangerous mistakes older adults make day after day. Mistake number 2 reveals another hidden threat, and this time it's not lurking in the medicine cabinet, it's hiding in plain sight in the kitchen. Mistake number 2, the hidden poison on your shelves. If you glanced at Margaret's kitchen, you'd think she was making all the right choices. Boxes of whole grain cereal, low-fat crackers, sugar-free beverages, canned soups, all neatly arranged. She genuinely believed she was eating well, but underneath those reassuring labels was something nutrition experts call silent accelerators. Foods that quietly fan the flames of inflammation, damage your cells bit by bit, and push your body steadily toward decline. The worst culprits were the sugars and artificial sweeteners hiding everywhere. That innocent-looking granola bar sitting in her pantry had more sugar packed into it than a glazed donut. Those sugar-free sodas she drank every afternoon were loaded with chemicals like aspartame, now connected in studies to increased stroke and heart disease risk in older people. Even the bread she thought was healthy had high fructose corn syrup buried in the ingredient list under names she'd never bothered to check. But sugar wasn't the only problem. Her low-fat snacks were stuffed with additives and salt to make up for the flavor lost when the fat was removed. The canned soups she relied on for quick lunches contained enough sodium in a single bowl to send her blood pressure dangerously high. And those frozen convenience meats in her freezer were full of nitrates, chemicals now linked to memory problems and a higher risk of dementia. Perhaps the most surprising issue was how little water she was drinking. At 72, Margaret rarely felt thirsty anymore. She figured that meant she was fine. But older adults often lose that natural thirst signal. In reality, she was only drinking a couple of glasses of water each day while loading up on coffee and the occasional glass of wine. This left her kidneys working overtime, drained her energy, and even made her more likely to fall because even mild dehydration can cause confusion and dizziness. Her wake-up moment happened when her daughter, who works as a nutritionist, took her to the grocery store and they went through her usual purchases together. They read every single label, ingredient by ingredient, and what they uncovered left Margaret stunned. Products she'd trusted for years were quietly undermining her health with hidden sugars, questionable chemicals, and empty calories. That very day, Margaret made a commitment to what she named her rule of fives. First, she would only buy packaged foods with 5 or fewer ingredients listed. Second, she would make sure to drink 5 full glasses of water before 5 p.m. each day so she stayed hydrated without disrupting her sleep. And third, she would eat 5 different colors of fruits and vegetables every single day to pack in as many nutrients as possible and fight inflammation naturally. She swapped her usual snacks for things like almonds and pumpkin seeds. She traded soda for herbal tea and water with slices of lemon or cucumber. White bread got replaced with actual whole grain bread, not just something with whole grain on the front of the package, but bread where whole grains were truly the main ingredient. She filled her kitchen with lean proteins like chicken, turkey and fish, and she ditched the processed meats in favor of fresh options. The transformation was nothing short of remarkable. Within just 4 months, the pre-diabetes her doctor had warned her about was completely gone. Her skin looked brighter and healthier. Her energy levels climbed. And the constant joint pain she'd been living with eased significantly as the inflammation in her body dropped. Even her grocery bill went down by almost a third once she stopped paying for all those processed, packaged items. The lesson, Margaret learned, is something every older adult needs to hear. The poison that's stealing 30 years from your life isn't always found in a prescription bottle. Sometimes it's sitting right there in your pantry, dressed up to look like something healthy. If you're still here watching and you're finding real value in this, go ahead and comment the number 2 below so I know you're with me. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, I really encourage you to do that and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Your support means the world and helps us keep making content that can truly make a difference in your life. Now let's keep going. Mistake number 3 is even more insidious because it doesn't begin in your kitchen or your medicine cabinet. It starts in your mind. Mistake number 3, the fear of falling trap. Margaret's first fall wasn't dramatic. She slipped a little, bruised her elbow, and her confidence took a hit. She told herself she just needed to be more cautious from now on. So she stopped using the stairs. She avoided sidewalks that looked uneven. She started limiting where she went and what she did. On the surface, this seemed like common sense, like she was protecting herself. But what she didn't realize was that she'd just stepped onto a path that was far more dangerous than the fall itself. Here's what happens. When older adults start moving less because they're afraid of falling, their muscles begin to waste away at an alarming rate. Balance gets worse. Bones become more fragile. And the very thing they're trying to avoid, falling, becomes far more likely. Studies show that seniors who reduce their activity out of fear of falling are 3 times more likely to actually fall within the next year. The cruel irony is that trying to stay safe by doing less is exactly what makes you less safe. For Margaret, the downward spiral happened fast. Within a year and a half, she was out of breath just climbing a single flight of stairs. She couldn't stand up from a chair without using her arms to push herself up. Lifting her 6-year-old grandson became impossible. Her physical therapist finally sat her down and told her the hard truth. Margaret, you're only 72 years old, but your muscle mass looks like it belongs to someone who's 85. Your instinct to protect yourself is actually stealing your independence. Margaret had to retrain her brain and rebuild her body. She started small with what she called her rule of 3s. 3 balance exercises while brushing her teeth every morning. 3 simple strength moves during commercial breaks when she watched TV. 3 gentle stretches every night before bed. In the beginning, she could barely stand on one foot for 5 seconds. But she kept showing up. By the 4th week, she could hold it steady for 30 seconds. After 3 months, she was doing squats with confidence. And after 6 months, she was hiking trails with her grandchildren, completely free of the fear that used to control her. The science backs up her experience. Research proves that even people in their 90 seconds can double their muscle strength in just 3 months of consistent resistance training. Your muscles don't care how old you are. They respond to challenge. Margaret joined a group exercise class for seniors where the laughter and friendship made it easier to stick with it. She discovered that strengthening her body didn't just reduce her fear, it brought back her joy. Her routine focused on real-world movements. She carried grocery bags in both hands to build strength. She practiced getting down on the floor and back up again, just in case she ever needed to. She walked on grass, gravel, and uneven ground to sharpen her balance. She even added dance classes for coordination and fun, proving that staying fit doesn't have to feel like a chore. But the biggest shift wasn't just in her body, it was in her mindset. Margaret stopped running from challenges and started seeking them out. She took stairs again, first holding the railing, then without it. She stood on one leg while cooking dinner. She turned her TV time into stretching time. The transformation was complete. From fragile and fearful to strong and confident, the results speak for themselves. Her bone density improved. Her balance scores nearly doubled. She hasn't had a single fall in over 2 years. Most importantly, she's living boldly again, traveling, playing with her grandkids, and moving through life without hesitation. The trap of reduced mobility is one of the deadliest snares older adults can fall into. But here's the good news. It can be reversed at any age. The question isn't whether you can get stronger, it's whether you're willing to challenge the fear that's been holding you back. Mistake number 4 strikes in a completely different way. It doesn't attack your body first. It starts by draining your spirit. Mistake number 4, the loneliness epidemic. After Margaret retired, she thought the peace and quiet would be a relief. No more staff meetings, no more deadlines, no parents calling her at all hours. But within 6 months, something unexpected started to happen. The silence in her home felt heavy. Days would go by where the only person she spoke to was the cashier at the grocery store. Her book club fell apart. Her church moved everything online. Visits from her kids became less frequent. One day she realized she was having longer conversations with her cat than with actual people. This kind of isolation doesn't just feel lonely, it's genuinely dangerous. Scientists have found that social isolation increases your risk of dying early by almost 50%. The damage to your health is comparable to smoking a pack of cigarettes every single day. Loneliness suppresses your immune system, speeds up memory loss, and doubles your risk of dementia. Seniors who slip into this quiet trap often lose their sharpness and their vitality years before they should. Margaret started noticing troubling signs. She'd forget whether she'd taken her medication or not. Words would slip out of reach mid-conversation. Her blood pressure started creeping up. And one morning, she admitted to her daughter something that scared them both. "I feel like I'm disappearing." Those words hit harder than any test result. But here's what turned things around for her. She learned that meaningful human connection is one of the most powerful forms of medicine for a long life. Older adults who maintain strong social bonds live longer, think more clearly, and feel happier. Margaret decided to rebuild her world. She started small. She began waving to neighbors on her walks, and those waves gradually turned into conversations on the front porch. She started shopping during designated senior hours and struck up friendships with the regulars she kept seeing. She joined a book club at the library. She began volunteering one morning a week at the hospital gift shop. She even figured out how to video call so she could see her grandchildren's faces. The real turning point came when she started something she called the Wednesday Gathering in her apartment complex. It began with 3 people playing cards. Within a couple of months, almost 20 neighbors were showing up every week for games, shared meals, and genuine connection. Margaret discovered that true connection isn't about how many people you know, it's about the depth of the relationships you nurture. Her approach was straightforward but powerful. She focused on staying in regular contact with just a few close friends. She aimed for deeper conversations where people shared what they were really feeling, not just surface-level chit-chat. She actively participated in things that kept her mind engaged, and she made sure to keep things light and joyful rather than heavy and draining. Within weeks, her mood lifted. Her vocabulary sharpened. Her blood pressure came down. She started waking up excited about the day ahead. By the time Margaret turned 75, her calendar was busier than it had been at 65, but in a much healthier way. She had fewer, shallow obligations and more meaningful relationships. She laughed more. She worried less. And she even started dating again after years of being on her own. Her daughter said, "Mum didn't just get her health back, she got her spark back." The ticking time bomb of social isolation can be disarmed with intentional effort. Even just 1 or 2 deep, meaningful friendships can transform your health, your memory, and your spirit. The truth is, no vitamin or medication on earth can replace the healing power of real human connection. If you're still watching and finding this helpful, please drop the number 4 in the comments so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now and turn on the bell so you don't miss a single video. Your support helps us keep creating content that can truly make a difference. Now let's move forward. Mistake number 5, the memory surrender. For years, Margaret believed what so many older adults are told, that forgetting things is just what happens when you get older. Misplacing your keys, blanking on someone's name, walking into a room and forgetting why you're there. These are often brushed off as senior moments, just part of life. But accepting that belief nearly cost Margaret her mind. One afternoon, she forgot her granddaughter's name. Another time she got lost, driving to her daughter's house, a route she'd been taking for more than a decade. Sitting in a parking lot, confused and scared, she realized something was seriously wrong. Here's what most people don't know. When you accept memory loss as inevitable, you actually speed it up. When you believe your brain is destined to decline, you stop challenging it. And anything you don't use begins to fade. Research shows that seniors who resign themselves to memory problems experience cognitive decline at almost double the rate of those who actively work to keep their minds sharp. Margaret's own neurologist eventually told her, "Your brain wasn't declining because of your age. It was declining because you stopped using it." But the science is clear. The human brain can grow and rewire itself at any age, even well into your 80 seconds and 90 seconds. This ability, called neuroplasticity, means you can form new brain cells, create new connections, and even recover abilities you thought were lost forever. Margaret proved this when she launched what she called her brain revival. Every morning, she spent 15 minutes doing brain training exercises, using simple apps and puzzles that tested her memory and problem-solving skills. In the afternoons, she committed to learning something completely new: Spanish, piano, watercolor painting. In the evenings, instead of zoning out in front of the TV, she wrote in a journal and read challenging books that made her think. Within a few weeks, she noticed she was remembering details more clearly. Within a few months, her memory test scores improved by nearly 40%. Margaret also discovered that physical exercise was one of the best things she could do for her brain. Walking every day increased a natural protein in her brain that helps new cells grow. She added dance classes, which challenged her memory, coordination, and balance all at the same time. A triple boost for her brain. She also used practical memory tricks. She linked new information to familiar places. She created little stories to remember lists. She taught what she was learning to other people, which strengthened her own recall. By her 73rd birthday, Margaret could order a meal in Spanish, play simple songs on the piano, and remember details from her childhood she thought were gone for good. Her neurologist was amazed. Brain scans showed growth in areas where he'd expected to see decline. "Your brain looks 10 years younger," he told her. Margaret's response was simple but powerful. The moment you believe your brain is done, learning is the moment it starts dying. The real danger isn't aging. It's believing the myth that aging automatically means inevitable mental decline. By rejecting that myth and actively challenging your mind, you build what scientists call cognitive reserve, a protective buffer that shields you from memory loss and dementia. Margaret's story is living proof that your brain is not finished, no matter how old you are. And that truth brings us to the most important part of all, her complete transformation and what it can teach us about living past 80 with energy, purpose, and joy. Final thoughts. 3 years ago, Margaret was headed down the same road most seniors travel. She was pre-diabetic, over-medicated, socially isolated, physically weak, and convinced that losing her memory was just part of getting older. Her doctor quietly warned her that if nothing changed, she might not make it to 80. She was on track to become part of the 85% who don't live to see their 82nd birthday. But Margaret chose a different path. She took control of her medications. She cleaned out the hidden poisons in her kitchen. She rebuilt her strength through movement. She reconnected with people. And she revived her brain with daily challenges. Today, at 75, she is stronger, sharper, and more engaged than she was at 70. Her latest blood work shows markers that look like someone 20 years younger. But more than that, she wakes up every single morning with joy, purpose, and confidence. Here's the key lesson. Aging does not have to mean decline. The real danger is in the quiet mistakes we accept as normal. By avoiding these 5 traps, over-medication, poor nutrition, inactivity, isolation, and surrendering your memory, you can dramatically change your future. You are not helpless. Your choices, even the small ones you make every single day, can determine whether you quietly fade away before 82 or live fully and vibrantly into your 90 seconds and beyond. Margaret's story is not a miracle. It's proof that with the right mindset and the right actions, anyone can extend not only the length of their life, but the quality of it. Your body and your brain are capable of far more than most people realize, no matter what your age is right now. The real enemy is not time passing. It's the fear and resignation that steal your years away. So take these lessons to heart. Think about the areas in your own life where a small shift could make a huge difference. Whether it's sitting down with your doctor to review your medications, going through your pantry and cleaning out the junk, joining a group or a class, reconnecting with an old friend, or simply picking up a new hobby that challenges your mind, every single step you take is an investment in the person you'll be tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you're planning to use it in your own life. Your thoughts mean everything to us, and reading your comments gives us so much motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Your support helps us continue creating content that can truly inform and inspire. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.